You've got your solo project. It's Joel Hoekstra's 13. The new album, Crash of Life. It's due out June 16th. You've got some great musicians working with you on this project as well. So talk to me about that first of all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, people can check out the first single. There's a video of a song is called "Far Too Deep" up on YouTube, and or you can stream it obviously, and you pre-order the CD. All those links are available at that YouTube link if you go there. But that's like more representative of the heavy side of the record, I would
Yeah.
say. This Far Too Deep track is kind of interesting. We kind of led with almost like a metal single.
Mhm.
It definitely has a wide variety of music on it, and that's the way I like it. Frontiers is really cool and let me do my thing, but you know, it's Vinny Appice on drums, Tony Franklin on bass, Derek Sherinian on keys. Jeff Scott Soto does the backing vocals for me because he's a dear friend of mine, and you know, Jeff's got a lot of projects he sings lead on already. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need one more. And then the newbie on this one is the lead singer Girish Pradhan, who's just kind of lighting the hard rock world on fire right now. He's really taken off. So he's great. You know, the label kind of had introduced me to Girish, and with his band, he was doing a lot of screaming, very aggressive, and I thought that sounds awesome, but I got to make sure that a lot of my stuff doesn't call for that; it just kind of calls for singing, like singing the melodies, and so I just wanted to make sure he could fit the bill with that. And as he sang on the record, it turns out he can really do it all. He's a very versatile singer, so he's a terrific addition, and I'm delighted to have him on board.
Fantastic stuff. And you said that the first single there, that's it's out there to be listened to and watched and that sort of stuff on YouTube nowadays. You can hear that, and as you said, it's metal. It's hard. It's a strong first single to come out from the record. But you mentioned there's some ballad type songs. There's some slower songs on there. Give us a feeling of the balance of the album then.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, if I looked at like some of the influences that are represented, there's one track that's definitely very AC/DC influenced. There's a couple that are Whitesnake influenced. There's a couple that, have, for me, a little bit of like a Zeppelin influence.
Okay.
So I would say at times I'm influenced by Queensryche and bands like that. So I think it's just kind of a mashup of all that. So it's definitely hard rock, but like there are times where the stuff gets a little bluesier. Or there's even one track on here where the changes are kind of R&B-ish,
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of variety on the record. But there are a couple more like Far Too Deep where it's just really heavy and really aggressive, and so I personally like it that way. I've always enjoyed like when you get a record and like it's not the same song 12 times.
Yes, exactly.
That's never done anything for me. So especially when it's my thing, and I'd like to show people a little bit of variety, what I like, and I think there's other people out there like me that like anywhere from mellower bands like, that are melodic like Journey or Foreigner, all the way up to Metallica, and I don't think I'm alone in the world in that, there's like, that's kind of where my taste in rock lies, I don't go, oh, they're not heavy enough, I won't listen to them. I like it. I like all that stuff, on that mellower side. I love the Journey, Foreigner, Boston, all that stuff was big for me. The proggy world, with Yes, especially the Trevor Rabin era stuff, and Rush. Always a huge Rush fan. I like everything they did, and but also the bluesier, bands like Zeppelin, Hendrix, The Doors. Really like The Doors. So I got a lot of, I guess, variety in my taste of what I like in terms of rock, So I like to represent that on these records too.
Absolutely. And how is it being? We mentioned that my project, my record. It's how is it being like the lead Limelight then when it comes to something like this? It's your name that's in the spotlight. It's not Whitesnake or Foreigner or Night Ranger. This is Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the purpose. I'm a big fan of how every project has certain levels of participation, like what you're asked to do. And I'm totally down with that. I think it's fun to hear the different results and hear other people's personas and personalities and writing be a part of projects and how you mesh with people. But this kind of gives me the opportunity to be the dictator, as it were, which everybody wants their one crack in life at being like, hey, I get to not only write the riffs for this, but I write the lyrics and the vocal melodies. So basically, I sing the entire record, and then I just had Guitarist sing it a whole lot better than me, I mean, that's the bottom line. So it gives me an opportunity to have, I guess, a lot more to do with the outcome. But again, that's not to diminish like my appreciation for what I do with other things, bands, and every gig is going to have certain things that are expected of you. And part of the fun of being in the music world is respecting that and understanding that. But not gonna lie, it's kind of cool to have the Joel Hoekstra's 13 albums be that one opportunity where I can go, and now I get everything the way I want it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on the topic of mishmashing people together, I mean, another project that came out not too long ago, I think it was April, Revolution Saints, yourself and Dean Castronovo and Jeff Pilson, obviously, for a long time as well, with the Foreigner connections and everything else that goes on there. The recent album came out. Like I said, April was Eagle Flight, I think it was called. Now, talk to us a little bit about that record.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an outstanding record. I was really happy when I heard the mixes. I like every track on the record. And that sounds like a cliche line, but it's actually true. When I heard it, I listened through the whole thing, and I went, man, I like every single song. I didn't hit skip on one of them. I just think, what really raised the bar, with all due respect to Dean's drumming and to Jeff's bass playing and, to my guitar playing, what really separates the Revolution Saints thing is Dean's voice. To me, I think he might be the most underrated singer in rock today, because he's such a good drummer that people focus on him. They think drummer first. They know him from Journey. But let's say that Dean didn't even play drums and people heard his voice. I mean, think about like, where does he sit in the list of like the top rock singers these days? I mean, he's right up there with all these guys, the top guys. He's on that elite list of classic rock singers. He's right there, in my opinion, with the Kelly Hansons and these guys that are out there just crushing it. And Dean's an amazing singer, and I think he really, in my opinion, came into his own a lot. There's still a lot of Steve Perry comparisons. Yeah. He's got that kind of like gritty, high tenor tone, legato. He's a huge Perry fan. However, I feel like you could definitely, if you listen to A-B them, there's a definite difference there. I felt like he came into his own on this record, and I felt like, perhaps Jeff and I just kind of let it roll with our influences from like Whitesnake and Dokken a little bit on this too, and maybe that formulaically nothing has really changed. It's Revolution Saints. It's very much Frontier's baby, and they want kind of a Journey inspired thing. But I feel like at times it maybe has taken on a heavier edge on this record. Just some of the Whitesnake stuff creeping in, or the Dokken stuff kind of creeping in, and. So anyway, they're both great guys that were nice to me before my name was really anything, And when we all toured together in 2011 on that tour, that was Night Ranger, Foreigner, Journey. There we were, all three of us, and now here we are, like 12 years later, putting these albums out. So to me, what guitarist says no to that? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. If you get an opportunity to work with Dean and Jeff, these are two of the top tier guys in the melodic hard rock scene, and guys that I want to work with, and they're great guys. So there you go. But what separates it is Dean's voice. It's like there's so many albums out with great guitar work or great drumming or great it's really Dean's voice is just like that next step above what you're hearing on all these other projects. You just don't hear a voice like that. It doesn't. doesn't grow on trees. So it's you know, it really he's quite amazing. You know, it makes me realize, you know, us mere mortals, man, we got a lot of work to do to catch up to him. I mean, crazy. Like he's one of the top drummers in the world, and then he opens his mouth and that comes out. It's like, are you kidding me? It's unfair.
Man, when I hear you say that you're just a mere mortal, I must be a piece of grass. But anyway, what's in the pipeline for the rest of 2023 then for you? Because obviously you're always really busy, so there must be stuff you've got lined up and things you're involved in.
Always working. I mean, I just came off of doing the Monsters of Rock cruise and counseling a rock and roll fantasy camp. I just finished a 2-week run with Brandon Gibbs, my friend, doing acoustic duo shows. I think we're going to hit Europe later this year, and we have shows throughout the U.S., playing live shows at Broadway's Rock of Ages band. I'm going to be out spending a couple weeks with David Coverdale, coming up here end of May into June, spending some time with him out at the studio. And Trans-Siberian, of course, Trans-Siberian Orchestra usually is November and December for me. Just turned in the riffs for the next Iconic record to Michael Sweet. Have already finished tracking the follow-up to Eagle Flight for Revolution Saints, so I recorded that. So yeah, there's always something cooking here, man. You know,
Honestly.
always working on something. But you know, obviously the main thing I would really appreciate if people would pick up Crash of Life and check out you know, my record. That's kind of my big thing right now is going to be to want to promote that and get people to check it out and give it a chance. You know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said at the start, hardest working man in showbiz. What's the best way for people to keep in touch with what you're doing then, Joel?
I mean, people can always. I'm on all the social media platforms except TikTok because I'm not a 12-year-old girl. But you know, they can feel free to hit me up on, you know, IG or Twitter and Facebook, all that stuff. I do have a .com. You can just go to joelhoekstra.com and link over to any of that stuff from there. And I do have a YouTube channel as well. Those that would like to subscribe to that. So I try to keep myself out there, and I try to do my best to get back to people. So if you inbox me or whatever, I should be able to get back to you.
Lovely stuff. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Joel. Wish you the best of luck for your new album, Joel Hoekstra 13, which is out on June 16th, if I remember that right. Everyone get that pre-ordered. Make sure you got your copies coming through the door when that one drops. Thank you so much for joining us on Vintage Rock Pod.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.